What's happening, folks? Back for the first Depeche Mode documentary watch along in a while, and as always, major thank you to great and longtime friend of the channel, Stephan, who has shared these documentaries with me, including one I think recently that's not in the same sequence of documentaries that are all part of the same project, though we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, we're going to watch the documentary for the album Violator 1990, which it's interesting and perhaps even suggested by the title of this documentary, which is if you want to use guitars, use guitars. I remember as a 10/11-year-old when I was listening to this album that I absolutely enjoyed it, and in many ways it sounded like the Depeche Mode I had come to know and love, but still it was different. It sounded a bit less keyboard electronic synthesizer compared to their 80s albums. And I remember when I heard Personal Jesus in particular thinking, wow, like, this is more of like a rock song than I normally associate with Depeche Mode. And I have seen enough of their documentaries, including the one for Speak and Spell, where I've become familiar with the idea that in the earliest days, part of their idea and seemingly part of the movement or trend in music at the time is that, look, keyboards and electronic sounds, they're kind of taking over, and bands don't even need to have a guitar player anymore. But obviously by the time they got to this album, their desire to use, let's say, traditional instruments was more a part of their sound than it had been in the very early days. So yeah, to me this album was at the same time vintage Depeche Mode and also Depeche Mode doing something a bit different or beyond what I had heard them do before that. So even though, again, I was only like 10 years old, I sensed this album was a shift, and I think that's probably perceived by a lot of other Depeche Mode fans who were a bit older and, a bit more cognizant of trends in music and so on. In any case, let's watch it. This is a documentary about Depeche Mode's Violator album, which I think is their 7th album, from 1990, called If You Want to Use Guitars, Use Guitars.